Hi there, Enneagram Life, and I'm Damien, and this is the 1st of July 2017. Today I'm going to talk about type 7s. Now, I haven't really got anything planned to say, but I really want to do a video on type 7s, so I'm just going to speak off the cuff, and I hope it turns out okay. One thing I was, before, when I started to make some of these videos, I thought to myself, I should print out this sort of textbook definition of these different types and just sort of bone up on that, read that before I do the video. And I did this once, and I was like thinking about it, and I felt that it actually impeded my own expression of the type 7, the type that I was talking about, whatever type that was. Because I guess you stop thinking about your own interactions with them and processing how it feels and just saying naturally what it's like for you, and then you start just saying the textbook definitions. And obviously there's a lot of overlap, and that's a good thing. That shows the system actually works, the Enneagram system. But when you do know the textbook concept, then I think, well, you can get that anywhere, right? So it's better that I express my own sort of thoughts. Because what's the point of Damien's Enneagram channel? So, without further ado, yeah, the 7s, the word fun just pops into my head as their main motivation. That's what they want. And I'm not saying they are necessarily fun, like your experience of a 7 is fun for you. It might be. It might not be, but their motivation, what they're out there looking for, is fun. Yeah. And here, it's important to underline what fun is. Because, and I saw a video about some guy who his son died and he worked for, I think, Microsoft or Apple or something like that, and he had some, I don't know, semi-viral video, and he was talking about how there's happiness and there's fun. And I guess by happiness he was talking about more contentment, and by fun it was more about that seeking the roller coaster time, wanting to go out there and jump on a roller coaster, wanting to go down there and scull a ton of booze, and wanting to, it had a sort of different energy about it. Fun, it's different to happiness. Want to get out there. A lot of them are like that. Like it's this idea of an escapism. This is sort of worked into fun too, and sometimes you'll see on different definitions the word, they love traveling, and all the textbook definitions are sort of like epicurist, which is a sort of a non-frequent word for someone who likes to sample lots of different things as a kind of appreciation of these things, but it's the idea of not sampling these things so deeply too. It's like dilettante is another word about someone who doesn't sample things very deeply and just wants to try a whole bunch of different things on the surface and just run around and have a good time. Dilettante, I don't know if I've seen that in the textbooks, but I saw that word in the dictionary, and I was like, damn, that's a 7 when I saw that. So it should be in a lot more textbooks. And I think they have a feeling of not understanding why other people don't want to just have a good time, just want to have fun. They see it as like everyone else has a problem. Like, why wouldn't you want to have fun? Who doesn't want to have fun's the best thing in life? Fun's the point of life. type of mentality. And I guess if you wanted to start explaining that to them, you'd have to be like, well, it's not fun to fail all your subjects because you didn't study. It's not fun to have to ask a relative for money because you spent all your money on some sort of impulsive buy. You would have to sort of translate it into these things, because their mind too, like, highlights, they sort of like gloss over all of those negative things that are often the consequences of living this very impulsive, fun chasing motivation, determination. When they're out there living that, they gloss over all of the negatives that do come, because they don't want to think about those things, sort of like the consequences of, or they want to imagine and use their thinking as escapism. They don't want to think of anything that's too serious or going to bog them down or going to make them feel any sort of sense of pressure. They want to escape all of that. And I remember watching this show once. I think it was about, what was the show about? I think it was just about people that were compulsive, actually. I think it was a show about that. And it was this woman who was constantly buying dolls' clothing. And dolls, and all these different clothes for dolls. And she would go out and take all these pictures of the dolls in different settings and wearing different costumes. And, you know, she had a child, at least one child. And her husband talked about how difficult it was for him because she had this issue where she kept buying dolls' clothes, and it wasn't just the buying of the clothes, but it was also how she would spend her time just out taking pictures of these dolls instead of, you know, doing house chores, doing things for the children type of things, or paying bills, you know, the more boring aspects of daily life. And she would use that as an escapism and buy all these dolls' clothing. And I could tell she was a 7. And that's the thing. I mean, you could be buying dolls' clothing for other reasons, but for her it was this fun-seeking, buzz-seeking, ignore ignore anything that feels heavy and trying to enjoy yourself. You know, activity. That's what buying doll clothing was for her. And I guess that's, you know, you've got to be able to see the same behavior and know what it's motivated by, and that's when you can sort of understand the different types. Because she could have been buying tons of dolls' clothes because she was a 3 who was trying to, you know, maybe they had a concept of themselves as the person with the best equipped dolls, or the person with the best, who appreciated art more than everyone, so that made them have to buy. And maybe that was their image of themselves, and they were buying dolls' clothes for that reason. Yeah. Anyway, I hope this has been of help, and please subscribe.